Yeah. Gosh, you're preaching to the choir here. Said anybody that listens to my show regularly, they know that I'm a big fan of time blocking.
Oh
I
yeah.
really believe that, like people like, I don't know, I feel like sometimes people throw around like, you're a slave to the calendar. And I really don't see it that way. Like, I really see it as like you are employing the calendar to make sure that you are making the most effective use of your time. Because, I mean, I feel like we all, in our journey towards time blocking, we all, kind of fall off and we're just like kind of running around like chickens with our heads cut off,
Yeah.
just trying to like get stuff done and scrambling and scrambling and scrambling. And it was like somebody calls with their hair on fire and we got to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious because like I always preach like when you're setting up your time blocks, whether it be, hour, half hour, kind of whatever makes sense for you. I'm a big believer that if you say, hey, I'm going to do this task from, 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning. And then when 10 o'clock hits, then I'm, switching gears and I'm going from, 10 to 10:30, whatever that time block is. Has that what's worked for you, or how do you kind of manage it?
Yeah, no, that's exactly. So I'll
Mm,
give myself a time block. And if I finish before then,
hmm.
I won't even jump into the next thing. I
Yep.
might go make myself a tea, go grab a snack, maybe get
Yep.
up and walk around just
Yep.
to give myself a little bit of time to breathe and just to stay active. Otherwise, you can get sucked into your desk all day if you just go
Yes.
from task to task. So I do if I do finish a little earlier, and then there's times that I finish a little late and I had to bump something to the back of my calendar.
Mm,
I might say like in order to stay on track and where I blocked, I'm gonna have to take what I had here because I ran over and just put it to the end of my day or even tomorrow.
yeah.
I'll have to shift some things around. Like if that's really important and I have to get to it, maybe I'll take something else off my calendar because I do like to give myself an end time. Otherwise, we can go all day.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, like as well as I do, like there's always a million and one things, and there's always, I think this is true of W-2, regular jobs too, but I think it's especially true when it's kind of your baby. Like
Yes,
you have to set boundaries around your own time, so that way you spend time with your kids. You can also take a break and rest a little bit. Um,
absolutely.
I'm curious though if you do so. One of my favorite kind of pro tips when it comes to
Hmm.
time blocking, and again I talk about it a ton, is chaos time. Have you
Yeah.
have you have you heard of this before?
No, it's chaos time.
So this is something I stumbled upon a handful of years ago, and because I was time blocking and things were going well, but it kept coming up where I'd be going through my day, and then somebody would call with their hair on fire, like some
Uh,
emergency or other that I
yeah.
had to deal with, right? A lot of urgency there.
Putting out a fire. Yep.
Yep, exactly. And I realized that, hey, John called with whatever his problem was that day. And now my whole rest of my day is thrown off because it took me an hour and a half or 2 hours to figure out, whatever was going on. So what I started doing is every single day I would give myself a time block that I called chaos time. And it was usually I did it for like 30 minutes or 60 minutes. And that way, if somebody called with their hair on fire and I had to, drop stuff to get things figured out, then I had time blocked in my daily calendar to deal
We
with their
love that.
issues, and it wasn't throwing off, the whole rest of my day.
Oh, I
And I
love that.
and I started to realize it was kind of fun. Like I started doing that and it was going well, and then I realized that again, like John or whoever, somebody like there's a handful of things that kept cropping up,
Yeah.
and it was cropping up consistently, and that was ultimately throwing things off because it kept coming up over and over again. So what I realized, what I started doing was I started writing down what came up in my chaos time. And if it was the same thing came up, 2, 3, 4 times a week,
Yeah.
then I knew I needed a time block for that specific thing.
Oh, I
And then
love
again, that
that.
wouldn't throw off, the rest of my stuff. Have you messed with that at all? Have you ever done anything like that?
No, no. I don't, you know what I will say? I try to put my phone
Mm,
down, like if
yeah.
especially if I'm concentrating, because it is easy to just get distracted,
Yep.
especially when you have ADD. Like I have ADD
Mm,
and OCD to the max. So like if something happens, it's got to get done. It's got to get done immediately because I'm like, that's the ADD kicking in and the OCD. So
yes.
like,
Yes. Right.
so I find it if I just keep my phone, I don't even know the fires that are going on. The house could be burning down and I don't know until I look. And that's like, okay, I have a break. I'm going to look at my phone. I'm going to look at my emails, see what's happening in the world. But otherwise, I have such bad ADD.
Yeah, well, especially with the emails and stuff. it can be hard to like. You can get, you can get sucked into
Yeah.
those, and somebody emails like, "Oh, I got to figure out this thing," and then your mind's thinking about that, and whatever
Yeah.
you time blocked for. I started time blocking like I've done it different ways, but usually I'll do like 15-minute increments, where it's like 15 minutes at the start of my day, 15 minutes kind of in the middle, and maybe 15 minutes at the end. it kind of checks through some of those things, see, okay, what is actually going on in the world that I need to deal with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, that's also, I like that little chaos time.
Yeah, like I said, it's worked really well for me because again, it doesn't. I feel like because for a while there, I was time blocking, and then things kept coming up, and
You're
then
like,
I had to
John
like,
keeps coming up in my chaos time.
yep, John
You
keeps
always gotta
coming
get
up,
fired.